Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Samastagrijanayani, Vedatam Karunamayam, Namami Chinmayam Devam, Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. So we have seen two parts of the first chapter, freedom and licentiousness, and joy of living. Art of right contact, sorry. The third one is the human heritage. So independence is our essence in our nature. And that's why rules, discipline, we are not able to restrict ourselves, we feel confined. Because freedom, independence, that is our nature. But what happens is our senses, they are extroverted. They are created in such a way that they seek happiness in the world outside. And so whoever is able to disengage from this slavish dependence on the world of objects, that person experiences freedom. Otherwise, the mind will always say that happiness is in going there, eating this, seeing that, hearing that. So the senses always crave for the sense objects. And senses enjoying the sense objects also is not a problem. But this slavish dependence that happens, that I can't be happy without this, that dependence is what is actually bondage. Though many times one feels the opposite. One feels that if I get what I like to eat, I like to see, I like to hear, then I am free. As we saw in the earlier aspect, that not to do what you feel like doing is freedom. In the sense that there is no impulsiveness or there is no slavish dependence on anything for one's happiness. So that ability to restrain the senses is only in the human being. And that's why it's a human heritage. Animals, birds, they cannot restrain their senses consciously at will like we can do. But nature has put up programming in them. So at certain times they will do certain things. But human being has freedom. Now, how to use that freedom is up to each one of us. That freedom, if we are able to use well, which means to train the senses properly, and hence to disengage the mind from the dependence, then that mind becomes, that life becomes really free. So the example that we had discussed last time also, beautiful example given in the course is the lighthouse. And how the lighthouse stands very strong and firm and it remains unaffected. Turbulent waves of desires may keep lashing, but the lighthouse remains strong. In the same way, the mind can be like the lighthouse, very strong. Desires may rise, but they may go. That's the heritage. That's the power of the human intellect. That every desire that rises, every sense craving that happens, we don't have to fall for that. One intelligently discriminates what is good for me, what is not good for me, and then choose and enjoy accordingly. Because if we don't do that, the contrasting example was that many fall a prey to the enchantments of the senses and are tossed about mercilessly by the desires like an abandoned boat in the sea. So the boat which has a boatman, this is also an example given in the Gita. In the second chapter, Bhagavan gives the same example. Vayu navam ivam hasi. Where a boat has no boatman, the winds will just toss that boat around and that boat will collapse. In a mighty storm, if there is still a boatman, the boat can be brought to the harbor properly. So the buddhi is the boatman. And active buddhi is a very important aspect. Many times the buddhi is there, one is not applying restraint. Everyone has to apply, everyone is not applying it. Now, how to use that buddhi? This call of I want and give me, as long as it is read strongly, the irresistible charm of the sense objects will pull us out. Scriptures are like the mariner's compass, which show that the mariner's compass is used for finding the direction, which is the proper north, and accordingly navigate and reach the shores. So, in the same way, north, interestingly, is the direction of knowledge. South is the direction of death. So, seeker generally goes towards north, away from death. Even in our country, the Himalayas are in the north. So, north is the symbolically the direction of knowledge. And just like that, mariner's compass points to the north, that for us to reach the shores of peace and bliss and happiness, what do? Seek the knowledge of the sky. Vedanta we have here, it has been amazing. What is the exact work of mariner's compass?
It's quite a compass. It's a gyro compass. Gyro compass.
It will point to the north.
That's it.
So these are magnets.
Or you are also. Is there a specific way you hold it?
The gyro compass is gyro sterlite. These are magnetic compass. These are just magnets, stabilized. They are more of electronic. They are highly, if you hold them anyway,
Yeah, because they are, sometimes when we have the other compass, one wonders which is actually the direction. So you change the position, it confuses.
Because it is influenced by other magnets or other. That is.
So scriptures are like that. What do we call it? Gyro compass. G-E-R-O.
GYRO.
G-Y-R-O. They like the gyro compass. The knowledge of our own true nature, that my nature is bliss, my nature is happiness, which I am seeking outside, is my own true self. And how to discover that is what the scriptures point out to us. What does this picture tell us? Violent waves, anything else? Disturbance, agitation, what else?
It becomes silent later on.
May become silent later on. Right now there is no silence.
That is right.
Ocean of life.
Correct, ocean of life. Superficial, surface, no doubt. So it's always at the surface the ocean is turbulent, but deep down it is very stressful, steady, strong. In the same way, world is compared to the ocean. Surface has many waves, and deep down it is serene, it is unaffected. In the same way, the world has a variety of beings. They are constantly changing. The cycle of birth and death we go through continuously. But what we realize, what we don't realize is that there is a changeless substratum, which is our true nature and which is the substratum of the whole. More about this as we go along, we will see. But what is important here in this analogy is to operate from depth, not to live only at the surface level. The more I live at the surface level, more I am caught in the cycle of birth and death, more extroverted I am. How to turn within, how to operate from the depth. Gurudev used to say operate from strength. The strength of the mind comes by anchoring in this changeless aspect. That there is one changeless absolute truth. The more my mind anchors in that, the more easier it becomes for us to face the challenges, the surface level challenges, difficulties, problems which come, can all be dealt with by anchoring properly in that inner strength. It is not only the strength of the mind, but it is also the strength of the self, the absolute truth within each of us. And hence this all ocean analogy is a very often it is given in Vedanta that when we live only in the surface, then there is like the boat will go up and down with the waves. In the same way, our mind will get lashed, our mind will keep going up and down with all the circumstances. Success comes, we go up, failure comes, we go down. Again, heat, cold, pleasure, pain. So the mind keeps tossing. What is required? And why does the mind keep tossing? Because of the sense of limited individuality. I am Mr. So and so. So the living in surface is living with that knowledge alone that I am this limited individuality. Living in depth is to know my true nature. These are roles that I am playing. But who am I in reality? Like an actor can play all the roles very well, only when he knows that he is not those roles. Suppose he forgets that he is not the role and he feels that I am this. Can he shift to another role? Not possible. In one place, one actor was traveling with, Gurudev was traveling and an actor also was there in the same train those days. So they struck up a conversation and the actor was very inspired. At the end of the journey, the actor took out some book and said, "Can you please give me an autograph?" So Gurudev instantly wrote, and he was very witty. So he wrote, "While acting, think it is real. In real life, act well." While acting, think it is real. The role is supposed to be real for him. But in real life, act well. Meaning, know that in real life also there are roles only. You are something else. You may be father, son, friend, and whatever. They are all roles. But what is my reality? To be anchored in that, that is the human heritage. And for that is what the buddhi has to be actually used. We may use it for many other things in the world to earn a living, etc. That is one part of it. But the subtler aspect of it is to know who am I and to anchor in that. And so such a person is called as a master who remains composed, unruffled by all the different challenges that life brings. When that person lives like that, when we say lives in equipoise, balance, unruffled, many times one feels that, oh, that must be such a dull, boring life, no excitement, always insane, feels that. But it is not like that. They don't live like a stone. They have emotions. When Gurudev's Suvarna Tulavaram was done in Villa Hotel, so the devotees all gathered and they weighed him in gold and then put that in the bank for the work of the Chinmaya. So Gurudev got up after that, and when he has to address everybody, he said, "I am choked." And then the next line he said, "I am a sannyasi. Sannyasis are expected not to have emotions, but I have them." And he was happy when he explained why he was feeling so happy. So he said that whole life I have lived to revive this Hindu culture and to see so many people across the world come together for this noble cause. He said that sense of joy is what is making me choke. It was not the gold. It was the feeling that so many people have come together and they are working and they are inspired that this work of our culture has to reach the masses and everybody should know what is the glory of our culture. He said that is the most important aspect. So emotions they will have, but they're not ever overwhelmed by them. As we discussed last time, emotions are not a liability. So their heart is filled with compassion and love for the suffering of the beings, but their head never gets ruffled or disturbed, anchored in detachment here. And that detachment as well as compassion, that's the most powerful combination. Love many times turns into attachment because detachment is not there. So detachment plus love is the real compassion. So when there is suffering also, one is moved by that suffering because of the love, but one doesn't lose objectivity. One knows how to deal with it. Just like a doctor. Anybody will see an injured person and the blood is flowing, one will panic. The doctor also is sick. But the doctor knows, okay, what is the next thing to be done, how to save the patient, how to stop the blood loss, so many things. Because the compassion is there, at the same time there is knowledge and rooted in the detachment. So that person is able to do objectively what is required. In our life, many times what happens, emotions they come and they overwhelm. So the sense of balance, proportion, detachment goes away. And the reason why they are able to do this is they are anchored in the truth. So that is a beautiful aspect, that when one is anchored in the truth, then compassion, love, detachment all go together. You see so many great masters, how they have lived their lives. Gurudev served for 42 years, tireless. Against so much of opposition. Vivekananda ji, 1893 went and spoke in the World Parliament of Egypt. You know the date when he spoke? It's a very, very important date. And the date is known to us. It's a very famous date. But we know it for a different reason.
$14.
Why is 14th August so there? September 11. We remember September 11 for the Twin Tower attacks. But September 11, 1893 is when Vivekananda spoke in the World Parliament of India. That day changed the perception of the world about India. Forget that part. That day changed our perception about Vivekananda. He did not go and speak there. They didn't bother about him in this country. 1886, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa passed away. 86 to 93, 7 years, he roamed in this country alone, seeking support, wanting to awaken the masses. His sister committed suicide, but he still didn't give up his path. What must be the motivation in his heart? He didn't want anything for himself. The motivation is that this knowledge must empower the lives of people. They should be awakened. They must have inner strength. They can face the challenges of life, achieve some glorious goals in their life, and also bring back the country to its past glory. Till 18th century, India was the top in world GDP. 200 years we have gone down. But his vision was to bring back, revive the glory of this country. So he struggled. So that compassion which is there, from where does it come? The truth in the heart, the truth in the individual is the truth in the whole world. That powerful message he wanted to convey to everybody. So emotions definitely are powerful and they can be our strength. What is a liability is emotionalism. We discussed this in the previous class also. So emotionalism, as Gurudev would say, let not the storms of your heart cover the sun in your head. Arjun, was he emotional or did he become a victim of emotionalism? what was his duty, he forgot that. He was not able to remain focused on the duty that he has to protect righteousness. So emotions overwhelmed him. Why did emotions overwhelm him? Because from the identity of a soldier, he shifted the identity to grandson, disciple, relative. So the moment our identity changes, our purpose also changes. Which is why when the masters are anchored in the truth, that is the deepest identity. Then they are able to live objectively. We have to bring that identity shift. Right now our identity is I am this limited identity, Mr. So and so. From there I have to shift to the knowledge that I am the absolute consciousness. Even that is the deepest level of shift. But even before that, what role I am playing, in that one should be anchored and remain objective in that. So the identity of ours determines our purpose. So if I am a student, that is my identity. If I am a homemaker, that's an identity. I am a businessman, entrepreneur. So my identity determines my purpose. And in each identity, what is the purpose, what is the goal, what am I here for, must be followed properly. There one should not get confused. For Arjun, one identity overwhelmed the other identity. And there was a conflict. As a soldier, he has to fight. But as a family person, he doesn't want to fight and kill the opponent. So now that conflict of interest came. Gurudev used to call admixture of roles. The roles got mixed up. At the end of the Gita, what happened to him? He got back the clarity. Nashto moha smritir labdha. He got back the clarity. And he says, Chitosme gata sandeh. All my doubts are gone. Parishya vachanam sarva. I will fight. Do my duty, and he went ahead and won the war. So emotions, when they overwhelm, we lose our objectivity, we get clouded in that, our roles change, and hence what is important is how not to come under the sway of emotions, how to be objective. So we need to know how to pause. When emotions are overwhelming, we should know how to pause. And especially what is important is when emotions are overwhelming, decision making must be postponed. Don't make decisions when one is emotional. Simple. Arjun made a decision. I want to go away to the forest. Luckily, he didn't implement that decision and he surrendered to Shri Krishna and he said, you please guide me. I am confused right now. I don't know what to do. What is right is appearing as wrong, what is wrong is appearing as right. So completely deluded. Dharma sammoha cheta. Moha means delusion. I don't know what is dharma, what is adharma right now. So you please guide me. So many relationships, so many things in our life, we just lose because we act impulsively under the sway of emotion. And then we later on realize, oh God, why did I say this? Why did I do this? I should not have done like that. So impulsive emotions can create a lot of trouble. Hence, we have to pause. To help us to pause, there are very many methods. It can be a mantra, it can be breathing. For immediate anchoring, the mind which is turbulent has to get anchored in one support system has to be held on. It can be an ideal. It can be the very fact that I learn to cultivate more acceptance. Anything. So when emotions are overwhelming, we should stop, we should postpone the decision making and say when I am more objective, then I will. Many times even a WhatsApp message comes to us and it can irritate us. I can choose to reply immediately and do something which I may regret later, or I may say, okay, I will think about it after some time and reply. There are simple choices in life, simple situations in life where I can make those choices. So now there is one simple exercise that we all can do. This sheet I will pass on. Don't start because everybody has to start at the same time. You just write your name and date and keep the sheet with you. You will need a pen to answer this. This pass. Take and pass it on. One, pass it. Take one and pass it. No, take one. You should take one. So, just write your name and your date. And when we say start, then you start. Everybody has got it. Anybody have you done it before? Then you go. Okay, so now everybody has got it. So your time starts now. It is mental concentration and information processing test. Read the instructions and do it. So many of you are hesitating. Do it, don't worry. Do it, do it. Such a fun test it is. They are doing it so seriously.
Actually, so much of food you like that you don't know which is the favorite.
That's not
You're not going to get it, definitely. What will you focus?
Ice cream.
One, two, three, four.
Over that, I have done this thing.
You have to turn and then ask. Anybody has completed? Bring it to me. What have you done? Wrong. Yeah, but not the next property. Read properly.
Gate 1 in my watch. What is in your phone or in your mobile?
8:10.
8:10. One.
Eight 15 in my watch. Yours?
8:12.
Last
Why this question?
1 minute.
How much you will give me score for this?
Five.
What is the point? Can score me, Macha. Actually.
Out of 20, give her a score. That's what she asked.
Zero.
80. No. Please read carefully. One minute more. Bila? Open here. Pura open. Those who are online, you can see it and then you can do also by yourself. Only 12 questions are there. So much time you are taking. Nobody has completed so far. What happened? Number 12. Okay, if you come to instruction number 12, what is written there? Ignore all the numbered instructions on this sheet except instruction 12 and write the letters pass into the boxes. How many wrote pass? You all wrote pass? But you failed. If you wrote pass, you have failed. Because what is written here?
Yes.
If empty, are the boxes empty?
Yes. Oh, they are number 1, 2, 3.
Boxes are 1, 2, 3, 4 inside there. So technically you were supposed to do nothing, just return the sheet to me as it is. If you got up, did some activity, just because you didn't write pass doesn't mean anything. You're not supposed to do any activity, nothing. As you read it, just return the sheet and it is over. It's given on the top. Read what is the instruction given, you just see that. You should comfortably complete this test within a few minutes if you read everything properly and quickly before writing anything. And all that is made bold also. This is called impulsiveness. Just see how much we process information so impulsively now. The moment we see a question paper, what are we supposed to do? Brain and start solving. The brain is trained from birth. That's the whole thing. Before I have so much. Even the 12th one, some of you read properly, came to the 12th one, happily wrote pass and sat down. After I said also, can I read properly, not still down, because our mind doesn't apply fully at that point in time. Just imagine in this situation like this. Impulsively, when emotions overwhelm. Today, impulsive emotions are not overwhelming, it was impulsive conditioning. And what would be our situation? So what is the human heritage is to apply the buddhi. As I am reading, I should process it properly. That is called application of the buddhi. So, Gurudev used to give us this BMI chart. A very famous chart. Entire Vedanta he pinned on this chart. Even if anybody does not have a background of Hindu culture, Sanskrit, shlokas, he can understand Vedanta through this. So what is this chart? Body, mind and intellect. They are our equipment. BMI is our equipment. What do we do with this? Now, plants have a body and a mind. Fundamental aspect of mind they have. Who did this research? Who found out that plants have a mind? Who's? Stones only have a body, physical structure. Plants, they have a body and a mind. Animals, they have a body and a much more developed mind and many more emotions they go through. In fact, Gurudev used to say that they have a fully developed mind. They can go through all range of emotions. But the buddhi, in terms of the capability to know, that capability to know who am I consciously, and a dog doesn't know consciously it is a dog, it knows only instinct. That capability of self-awareness, that is called the buddhi, that is not there in the animal, that's only the human being. So human being has all the three, body, mind and intellect. And sometimes Gurudev used to joke, he used to say, check, do you have all the three or something is missing? Body, mind and intellect, they are our equipment. With the body we perceive, with the mind we feel, with the intellect we think. So when we identify with these three, body, mind, intellect, we become perceiver, feeler and thinker. That's the limited individual, Mr. So and so. And through the body, we perceive the world of objects. Through the emotions, through the mind, we feel the world of emotions. Through the intellect, we think the world of thoughts. Now, all of us have the same body, mind and intellect material. Equipment is made up of 5 elements. But each of us are different from the other. Why? The question is why? Why do we think different?
Because of the past experience.
Because of our baggage, past experience, which is indicated by past. So, as we go along, we will learn more about the vasanas and the detailed aspect of this whole chart. But this entire realm is made possible by Om. Body can function because of the truth which is enabling it. If there is no truth, body cannot function. Mind can feel, emotions are arising. Mind can feel the emotions. Intellect can think the thoughts. Because there is an absolute truth which enlivens this body, mind and intellect. Like this bulb. Bulb can give light only because it is empowered by electricity. Without electricity, bulb cannot give any light. In the same way, our body, mind, intellect is empowered by the pure consciousness. The great masters are anchored in that pure consciousness and they realize that Om is not finite, is not limited, it is infinite. In the hearts of all the beings is the same truth. Our body, mind, intellect combination is different in each one. So there is a lot of variety because of the vasanas. So each one's body is different from the other, mind is different from the other, intellect is different from the other. But the truth is the same in all. So those masters who are anchored in that truth, they are not affected by the body, mind, intellect. So how do I realize the truth? For that I should regulate my body, mind, intellect, integrate them properly. Today what is happening at the body level, the sense cravings, they overwhelm us. At the mind level, emotions overwhelm us. At the intellect level, some thoughts, some knowledge that we have brings a certain rigidity in us. So the body, mind, equipment has to be tuned properly. And that tuning is what is very important, that we can use them, but we don't get used by them. We use the body, not that the body makes us a slave of itself. Today, that is what happens. We are not able to stand apart from the perceptions, apart from the emotions, apart from the thoughts. They completely enslave us. What is human heritage is to be able to use the equipment and not get used by it. Just like today it is happening to us with the phone. Instead of we using the phone is using us. Most of the time that is what happens. We are under the control of that phone. You know, in the earlier days, when the person woke up, what will that person do when the person wakes up first? In the earlier days, the person will get up and pray. And what is the prayer? Karagre vasate Lakshmi, Karamule Saraswati, Karamadye tu Govinda, Prabhate Karadarshanam. That's the prayer. For modern life, what is the prayer? Karagre vasate Facebook, Karamule tu Twitteraha, Karamadye tu emailaha, Prabhate Karadarshanam. That's our shloka for the modern life. Our day begins with the phone. Throughout the day, we are on the phone. When we go to sleep also, we see the phone and go to sleep. Somebody said, it has been ages now since I fell asleep reading a book. Meaning, earlier when we used to read a book, you know, the book will fall on us and then because we are sleeping. Now the phone falls. So the phone is an equipment for us to use, but what is happening? We have become a slave of it. Same way it is with the body, mind and intellect. The BMI is enslaved. Human heritage is to be able to stand apart. Stand apart doesn't mean we will not have emotion. It means we use emotion, but don't get used by it. And hence that balance is what we have to strive for, that the discrimination in us is not disturbed by the emotions. How do I ensure this happens? One very important step for that is I must have a higher ideal in my life. Like Arjun's case, the higher ideal was he has to protect righteousness. The revenge, emotions, all those was there in his mind. But he was able to stay firm in the higher ideal that my nature is a Kshatriya nature and I have to protect righteousness. I am here to fight that war for that, not for revenge, not for land, not for property. So when we have a higher purpose in life, that higher purpose in management today they call that you must have a purpose which is greater than yourself. So that kind of a purpose which makes me think beyond me is a higher purpose. So direct all the emotional energies to that idea and its achievement without getting overwhelmed. So what is that kind of a purpose which I can discover? It can be a field which I love. Let us say somebody loves to play music, somebody is a very good teacher, somebody is a good painter, anyone. It can be in a field which I really love, and there I set such high standards and work hard to make a difference. In the second chapter, we will see more about this attitude to work. But what is that higher purpose for which I can live? Which will emotionally also engage me, which will not be just an intellectual goal. We will see examples of that. So the emotions get harnessed with that higher purpose. One feels for that. one peace for a cause. And then one has the intellectual honesty to live up to that conviction. Like Gurudev felt that, the masses are ignorant of this knowledge of Vedanta and I must bring it to the masses. His own teacher told him that don't go down. Those who want the knowledge will come up to the Himalayas. Why are you leaving the peace and the serenity of the mountains and going down into the plains? You will get caught up in the cycle of action. Tremendous amount of work and action, you will get stuck in that. So when Gurudev was told that, he heard his master and he was thinking more about it. But then again he came back to his master. His master is Tapoon Maharaj. This is his teacher. So he told Tapoon Maharaj that the urge is irresistible. Because just like Mother Ganga is flowing from the mountains into the plains to serve thousands and millions of people, in the same way I want to take this knowledge and reach it to maximum people. So please give me permission. And he was convinced of that. So he came down. His teacher said, if you find 4 or 5 people, feel grateful to the Lord. And for his first lecture, he had 6 people in Pune on 23rd December 1951 in Rastapet Temple. And he started it like this, his talk. He said a Hindu temple for the background, a Hindu Swami for the speaker, and an audience who is Hindus. And the topic is, let us be Hindus. That was his topic. Because he said that Hindus have to awaken to the glory of their own culture. And he was convinced of that. So the feeling was there. And his 42 years dedicated to bringing the knowledge of Vedanta, which is the essence of Hindu culture, making people proud and practicing Hindus. He was such a deep patriot. We will see his life story. One of the sessions we will see the movie. So when he was so convinced about that, in spite of so much of opposition, he came down and he started sharing the knowledge. That is called a goal. We'll see some more examples of such people. When they find that higher purpose in their life, they transform. And ordinary potential transforms into extraordinary achievements. Not ordinary potential, they seem ordinary people. But from them, an extraordinary power has to manifest. And they achieve so many great things because they found that ideal. And that ideal transforms. And when such individuals in the society are there, each one is working with a higher purpose. Such a society is an empowered society. Let us say one goal, freedom. And it brought so many 400 million people together to fight for the freedom of this country. After that, what happened? No common goal. Each one becomes selfish, fell back into their own. Today we have one simple goal. Many goals we have, but one simple thing which unites all of us is what? Swachh Bharat is one goal that all of us live clean. So if we take it to heart and we say we will be clean, not only at the physical level, but even morally, intellectually, we will live a clean life. It may be a struggle, there is no doubt. It may not be easy at all. But where all we can, we should start living. So one goal, when everyone comes together bound by that one goal, and we all strive for that without compromise, then that society is empowered, it's a glorious and a dynamic society. So in 2012, we had launched a movement called Transforming Indians to Transform India. Can one person's transformation really make a difference? Do you believe? Yes or no? Or we say, what can one person do? System has to change. A lot of people, so many things are required for the mass change to come about. Can one person bring about a real change?
Yes.
Yes. One person can bring about something, but that person has to be anybody else except me. We keep waiting. Some leader will come, some change will happen, somebody will do something. I have to be that change first. You see the examples. We'll see. So Gurudev said, many exist and few live. To live, you must have an ideal. Without an ideal, what is our life? Just to be born, to grow, to breed, to become old and die. Even an animal does that. They also build house. Only thing they don't do are two things. They don't go to university and get a degree. And they don't formally marry. That's all. And nowadays, human being doesn't want to do both these. So think about it. What is the ideal for which I am living? I have to ask myself. Which will bring out my potential, which will make a difference to the society around. Both are very important. And the higher that ideal is, greater is the potential that manifests. Hence, he said, an inspiring ideal can transform any listless soul into a towering leader of men. See these examples now. So many examples of such people who have found an inspiring ideal, and when they have transformed, the whole society has transformed. One individual. So that kind of an ideal is when we have to discover within ourselves. That ideal is to be intellectually inspiring, greater than this I, me, and mine, emotionally engaging, and physically challenging. Very hard work. I should be able to do work. In that way, what happens is the ideal will help us to integrate the whole personality. So what can be such an ideal in our life? Anyone? Hmm?
Actually, at this moment, my ideal is to transform my family from the material life to a higher level. They are all very successful, but I feel they have to grow.
So transform the family from material level to a higher level. Okay.
To some extent, I have been making some change in their minds. There is something beyond this material sense.
Okay.
Do more seva and touch more number of things.
Do more seva and inspire more people whom we don't know. Okay. So it has to become more specific. Seva in which field, what age group of people. The more it becomes specific, the easier it will be to channelize concrete. But yes, service can be one aspect. Spread absolute joy. Okay. But how do you plan to achieve that? First experience it oneself and then share. Wonderful. So it can be any such ideas. It can be, but what is important, it should be close to our heart. It's not in terms of numbers alone. It is something which is engaging me at all the body, mind, intellect level, all the three levels. Then that ideal becomes a way to anchor ourselves in. And the emotional turbulence that comes after that in life, we can handle without getting disturbed. So that's the human heritage. The highest ideal is to realize my own self. To know who am I is the highest ideal, because that when I realize all sense of duality, differences, everything goes away. And when this sense of duality, difference, all that goes away, that person comes to realize that there are no boundaries. Unconditional love the person lives in. Supreme happiness one experience. So highest ideal is divinity. You look at them, great masters, how they have lived their life. Vivekananda dropped his body in 1902. But till today, if you read his words, they have so much of power. We feel so inspired by them. Some of his quotation, the small booklets the Ramakrishna Mission brings out. One very nice book is Thoughts of Power. Such a small book. But when we read that, because they are born out of the experience, those words have a power to touch and transform. Buddha, he taught only 500 disciples. And they went across the whole world and they are spreading. Buddhism is the biggest religion, fastest growing religion today. So if we look at their lives, Shankaracharya traveled across the country 4 times, reviving Advaita. Even till today, we follow the works of Shankaracharya. Because they are rooted in that knowledge, they are anchored in that supreme reality. So their message is eternal, universal. So to have that highest ideal and dedicate the actions towards that whatever I'm doing is to make my mind ready to realize this absolute truth. Then that's the human heritage. So that covers the third part of the first chapter. Now we come to the last part, which is the joy of living. So if we ask a simple question, what are the main motive forces behind all action? Why do we act in the world? To get happiness, one aspect. What else? To avoid sorrow. Vedanta says, Paramananda Prapti and Atyantika Dukkha Nivritti. But the question is, Vedanta is saying that. Do we feel like that? Because if I feel that I want to act out of happiness, whatever I'm doing is only for happiness, so many things that we do, we will not do because they bring a lot of stress, worry, tension, anxiety to us, and we know it also. But still we do. Because somewhere that clarity is not strong. So, what we yearn for is permanent happiness. We want to be happy at all times and we want to be free from fear and sorrow, once and for all. You can switch it off and switch it on. So, when these are the two motives behind all actions, they are actually not two, they are only one. The experience of happiness is what we really see. Whether we go out somewhere or we do something or we don't do something, everything is only so that I become happy, I become better, I feel better. And what type of happiness we want is a permanent happiness. So now the fundamental question is, where is this happiness? Generally, our mind would say happiness is in the world outside. So in the sense objects, if I enjoy the sense objects, I will get maximum happiness. Maximum sense objects I enjoy, maximum happiness I will get. And is there anything wrong in that? Why should we not enjoy the sense objects? Happily enjoy. They are not permanent. Okay, so that is one reason. More fundamental question if we come to, is happiness in the sense objects? Is it in the wealth? Then where is it? It is within us, but why is it not in the sense objects?
Because
Keep wanting more and more.
Okay, it is there in sense objects and so I want more. Because I want more doesn't mean it's not there in the sense objects. Suppose somebody gives you today, just now, nice black forest paste. If you eat it, just when you taste that, you feel nice. soft, chocolate, nice taste comes. So happiness is there or not?
Yeah, that's short things.
Forget short-lived. It is there or not?
Yes.
Then why should I not enjoy maximum?
We crave for more.
That
That's
is-
okay.
That is derived from the objects. It is not permanent.
Question right now is not about permanent happiness.
There is
Question right now
happiness.
is there happiness in the sense objects or not?
Yes.
Yes.
It is always from external things. It's not easy. Because keep on eating and eating, you are
It's okay now. If you fulfill, if you eat, keep on eating. So that's how life is. No? Continuously, I keep enjoying sense objects. I will be happy at all times. Permanent happiness is not a goal separately to be achieved at the end of life. Permanent happiness means every moment I should be happy. So keep enjoying every moment. I'll be happy. No, what is so complicated is
That is indulgence.
Because they're not
it's okay. Now, if I want happiness, indulgence is the price I pay for it. I indulge. I enjoy it. Why is the Shastra saying happiness is not in the sense of this? Forget temporary or permanent. It is saying it is not in the sense of this.
Because we perceive things. Our sense themselves to perceive, see, feel.
Correct.
So we don't have a sense of it. I don't see. It's beyond that. Like what people say, we eat. It's tasty. Our tongue is giving that taste. But is it real?
Now that's another question. Right now we are not asking whether it is real or unreal. Our question right now is why are we saying that happiness is not in the sense of it? What is the reason?
If it was an academic, everyone equal.
Simple. That's the logic. The logic is that much only. If happiness was in the object, it should give everybody the same experience. No? But it doesn't do that. Even after one has it, one will still feel empty. One craves for more, as you all said. But the logic is simple. Many times when one who has less also feels more contented, one who has more feels less contented. Both are possible. Some who has more also feels contented. That also is possible. But still, when we ask where is happiness, happiness is not in the cake. Happiness is not in the contact of the object with the tongue. If it was in that, then there would be no problem. Because everybody would experience the same things. Every single person who eats black forest pastry should enjoy it. Because if happiness is its nature, everybody will enjoy it. But does everybody enjoy it? Again, everybody. Same person also at different times doesn't enjoy it. What we liked a few years back, do we like today? May not. At some point, it may have been my favorite food item. But I've eaten it so much now that I got fed up with it. Now it is not my favorite. The same object it is. So if happiness was in the object,
If my mood is not, I'm not happy, I do not eat.
correct. It depends on my internal state. It is not outside at all. So where is happiness if you actually think? Is it in the object? Is it in the contact of the object with the senses? Yes, the senses have to be in a certain condition to enjoy. There is no doubt. If we have fever, we won't be able to enjoy the food properly. The taste will not come. So yes, senses have to be in a certain condition. Object has to be in a certain condition. If that black forest pastry is 10 days old, will be then no longer it is black forest. Yeah. So 10 days old, sense object has to be in a particular condition. Our senses have to be healthy enough. Then when the contact happens, we feel, oh, happiness came from sense object. But actually it didn't come from the sense object. Where did it come from? The desire in the intellect for enjoyment that kept on bothering us, that desire has quieted. So when the desire quietens, person experiences happiness. Pleasure one experiences at the tongue level, no doubt, when the pastry is being eaten. But the happiness did not come from the pastry. Happiness came when the mind became quiet. And so when we say what is happiness, Many people answer happiness is a state of mind. Correct. But anger also is a state of mind. Jealousy also is a state of mind. So what state of mind is happiness? So the mind which is peaceful is a happy mind. So happiness is measured by the tranquility of our mind. The more disturbed the mind is, less happy the mind is. More peaceful the mind is, more happy the mind is. So peace is equal to happiness. In our mind, we have a concept. Peace means absence of conflict. And happiness means excitement of the senses. So we are not able to equate peace and happiness. But happiness and peace are one actually. Can I be very, very peaceful? You can try this for the whole week if you want. Do the exercise. Be very peaceful. And try being very disturbed and happy. Can we try? If you are able to achieve this, you will set Guinness Book of World Record. Nobody can achieve it. If I am peaceful, I am happy. If I am happy, I am peaceful. By happiness, we don't mean excitement of senses, no? Calmness of the mind. So the more the mind is calm, when the desire is fulfilled, the mind actually becomes calm. So in Vedanta, we always say happiness is measured by the tranquility of one's own mind. This is at the level of the mind. Happiness of the self will come later. That is the permanent happiness. But at least at the relative level, if we understand that happiness is not from outside, it is the calm mind that I have, then think about it, how much freedom it is for us. If I want to be happy, today my feeling is what? I have to go here, I have to eat that, I have to do this, then I will be happy. There's so much of dependence. But if I know that happiness is not there, happiness is in my mind, my mind is controlled, I can learn to quieten the mind whenever I want, experience happiness then and there. Because always it's available. But we are not aware of this capacity. So what happens? We feel that happiness is by some sense enjoyment. But this sense enjoyment is actually not bringing happiness, it is quietening the desire. Gurudev used to give that example, coffee. If I want to drink coffee, there's a desire in the intellect, coffee. Even if I'm sitting right now in the class, I have not had my morning coffee and I've come here. While listening to Vedanta, the mind is saying coffee. Again I'm listening. Again, between coffee and Vedanta, it's going on shifting. As soon as the class gets over, what will I do? Go immediately, get 1 cup of coffee and drink. What did that cup of coffee do to me? Tongue got the pleasure of the coffee. But actually, the joy I felt is because that desire, that agitation, I want coffee, that subsided. So that mind became quiet. To the extent that mind became quiet, I was happy. And hence, as you said earlier, there is sense pleasure out there, but it is temporary. But happiness is not out there. Happiness came from the satisfaction when the desire became quiet. But falsely we think happiness came from because I mixed up pleasure and happiness. Coffee brought the pleasure. But with that pleasure, happiness didn't come through the coffee. Happiness of my nature, of myself, I experienced because that desire became quiet. And so how to quieten this mind consciously? So many spiritual practices are meant for that. How to make the mind quiet. In a quiet mind, I experience happiness spontaneously. In the state of deep sleep, are there any objects? There are no objects at all. But am I happy or not? Which means what? I can be happy in the absence of everything also. I don't need anything for happiness. But yes, that state is a state where I don't know, there's ignorance and I go into it unconsciously. That I can do consciously is a spiritual practice. If I can do that, I will never be a victim of circumstances. Today I am a victim of circumstances because I feel happiness is outside. I have to do this, then I will become happy. I don't have to be a victim of circumstances. And in fact, as we will see in the next chapter, these are the masters who act from happiness. They don't act for happiness. Every moment of their life, they are anchored in happiness and they are able to share happiness with people. Because it's in a quiet mind. And hence, Gurudev used to give us an equation of happiness. What is the equation? Number of desires fulfilled by number of desires entertained. Generally, we feel that the more the desires are fulfilled, more happy I am. So that is one approach. The second approach is reduce the number of desires. Lesser number of desires, more happiness, because mind is less disturbed. But the best is what? If you reduce the desire denominator, then happiness quotient will increase for sure. Because if by increasing the numerator, what happens? The more desires I fulfill, automatically the more desires get entertained. So my denominator goes on increasing. So happiness quotient doesn't increase with that. But if my desires reduce, my happiness quotient increases. For example, if I have 100 desires and 60 desires get fulfilled, what is my happiness percentage? 60? Are you sure? Because with that 60, another 60 get added to my denominator. So happiness percent is not 60. It is not 60 by 100. It is 60 by 60 by 160. So what is my happiness percent? I feel that it will be 60%, but it is not 60%. It will not reduce. But if I reduce the denominator from 100, I reduce the denominator to, let us say, 50. And in that, I am able to, let us say, add some more desires in the top, fulfill some more desires. My happiness percentage will increase. And the best part will be if I make the denominator 0. If denominator becomes 0, happiness becomes infinite. How can we make denominator 0? Life is not possible. We are not talking 24 hours, denominator should be 0. In the state of contemplation, denominator can become 0 or not. In meditation, denominator can become 0. At the moment of meditation, in those moments, don't entertain any desires, drop all desires. One will enter into samadhi. Vihaya sarvan kaman manogata is what the Gita says. If you drop all the mind-bound desires in that seat of contemplation, Atmani eva atmana tushta, one will absorb in the self. So this is the joy of living, where I understand that happiness is not outside, happiness is in my mind, in a quiet mind. And quieter the mind, greater the happiness. So this concludes our fourth part of the first chapter. So the lesson 1 gets concluded now. On the WhatsApp group, I will put the link for the test, for the evaluation. As I said earlier, it will be multiple choice questions and one can answer them after reading the lessons. Next week, we will start our second chapter. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Namaha.